What is up, everybody? What is up? And welcome to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I'm your host, the bald, the beard, the beautiful Piers Austin, and we are brought to you live by Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance on Facebook and on YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Tonight, I have a very special guest. He is the 21st century success story, Matty Wahlberg, and I'm going to be bringing him out in just a minute. But before I do, I just want to take a quick second, a quick pause for the cause, a quick moment to say thanks to our amazing sponsors. First up is A-Rock Designs. A-Rock Designs is that company that is all over all the wrestling groups, wrestling pages. They make custom cups, hoodies, keychains, t-shirts, tumblers, you name it, they make it. They actually made me this custom CM Punk tumbler, which I absolutely love, and I'm a huge fucking mark for CM Punk. Still have not put beer in this cup, and I refuse to do it because it's kind of sacrilegious. But anyway, I digress. Moving on, my next sponsor is Signal Studio. So if you're an independent professional wrestler and you want to get your hands on some dope entrance music or an upgrade to what you currently have, you can hit up Signal Studios in Sydney, Australia. They can mix, master, and send you a track anywhere in the world. Or if you're a musician and you live in Sydney, you want a place to record, a place to rehearse, a place to chill and get those creative juices flowing, you can head down to Signal Studios, and they have the most comfortable space that'll be able to get you going and get all your creative juices going. But guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring him out. He is Matty Wahlberg. Matty, welcome to Shooting the Shit, buddy. Thank you for coming on.
What's going on, bros? Repping that Gen Now today, baby. That looks fresh, right?
It does, man. It looks very fresh, man. We got a lot of people in the chat right now. We got Joel Southgate, Aussie wrestling fan. You going to the show, watching it on OVO Play? I'll be going to that show. We got Kyle Eade. He's in the house. We got Alcoholic Adam as well. I see he's dropping in.
All the boys are here.
All the local fellas. We got Ryan Evans. What's up from New Zealand? Guys, thank you for tuning in. It's absolutely great to see you all here. Matty, thank you for coming on the show, man. You've definitely been one guy I've really wanted to get on for a while, and I really appreciate you, giving up your, Thursday evening to come here and just talk a bit of wrestling and shoot the shit with me, man.
You're welcome, brother. I'm not an easy get. I'm not like Jimmy Townsend. I actually have a life, so I do things most of my nights. But here I am. I've given you just a little bit of time before I head out.
Man, you're an absolute gentleman, and I appreciate that. But Matty, getting into it, man, you're quite an interesting dude, man. You're a pro wrestler, you're a high school teacher, and you're also a former reality TV star as well, man. There's not much that you haven't done in life, brother, is there?
No, I get a bit bored sometimes if I keep doing the same thing. So I always like to try new things and get out there and make the most of life.
Absolutely, man. It's the best way to be, never hold back, because you're only going to restrict yourself. But, starting out, man, like, being a high school teacher, man, like you teach history, correct?
Yeah, it's high school history.
Yeah, man. So how does it feel? Like, do your students follow your wrestling career as well? Do they come to shows usually, obviously, before the pandemic and cheer you on? Or is it like they come and heckle you at all? Or?
They all do know about it now, especially because, being on Survivor and things like that, they've obviously seen what I do, and kids generally are very interested in what's going on. But most of the shows I do are over 18s shows. So most of them can't really get to those shows, but, they look up stuff on YouTube. Most of the times they just give me shit about it, to be honest. At that age, especially in high school, they don't think that their teachers are cool at all. But sometimes I do some cool stuff and they'll give me props or whatever, or they'll play my theme music because it's a bit of a banger. So,
that's awesome, man. So, obviously, being a high school teacher, man, it takes a lot of dedication and time. My wife is actually a primary school teacher, so I know exactly how the teacher's life is, man. I see it firsthand. But, was being a teacher, and being someone to educate children, was that something that you always wanted to do when you were younger? Like, how did you become a teacher?
It was always like when my mum asked me what I want to do when I was older, I always said wrestler. And then being a little bit more realistic, I was like teacher. I saw teaching as like a career path, and wrestling was always just a bit of a dream. And I always like really enjoyed history. You know, most people who know me now don't really know that like I'm constantly reading history books and nonfiction, all that type of stuff. So any way I could stay in that field as well, I was interested in, and teaching just worked out perfectly. So I can kind of still learn and kind of pass my passion on for history and stories like that to the next generation.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I think history is one thing. It's important for younger people to really learn, whether it be about Australian history, English history, whatever it is. You're learning about parts of the world that happened hundreds or thousands of years ago, man. And history was always something I found an interest in. As well. So no, I can definitely understand where you come from on that. And you mentioned the kids playing the entrance music and following some stuff up on YouTube as well. So and you mentioned you wanted to be a pro wrestler or a teacher. When did you decide you wanted to actually do pro wrestling and try it seriously to really give it a crack?
It was always like the thing I wanted to do, and for some reason I just never got into it. I remember, when I was 16, that's kind of the age you can start. I'd always look up like training schools and the stuff I found online, like it just didn't look like what I saw on TV or what I saw on DVDs. I was just like, I don't know if I trust this. And then I ended up getting really big into MMA, and I did that for 6 years, and that was kind of my focus. And then I finished uni, I traveled the world, I lived overseas, and then I came back and I was kind of like, if I don't go for it now, I'm never going to go for it. And I don't want to be that person who looks back on their life and has regrets for things that they never tried. So I started wrestling a little bit later than most people, but it was always there. I was always a huge fan. I was always wanting to do it. But I kind of got my life together first and then chase the dream. Whereas a lot of people do it the other way. They'll chase the dream, and then later on they have to kind of figure out what they're doing with their life. I tried to play it intelligently. I don't know if it was the right thing to do. I kind of wish that I started a lot earlier, but I can't complain about how things are going now. I'm pretty happy with how it's all worked out.
Oh, absolutely. And talking about getting into wrestling, where did you actually start training? Was it with PWA or was it with somewhere else?
Yeah, no, it was with PWA. Because I was always a huge like American indie wrestling fan, and so I knew Madison Eagles. But I knew nothing about the Australian scene at all. Like, I didn't know anyone except anyone who'd been overseas. So I knew Madison Eagles. And one day I was just checking up on schools, and I found a school that Madison Eagles was involved in. And I was like, I know her. She's done Shikara. She's done Ring of Honor. Like, I want to train with her. So I kind of held off until I found a school that I really wanted to go to. And then I walked in. I met Robbie the first day. And I'm really happy with my decision to choose PWA because, having Robbie and Madison there as your head trainers, like, it does not get better in the world. Like, and I'm not just saying that. Generally, I think that the PWA Training Academy is the best wrestling school in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the talent that comes out, and anyone who's watching this interview, if you haven't seen a full PWA show, go and check it out because you will not be disappointed. The quality of the performers that you see on PWA cards they're at the same level of any major promotion. We were talking about this backstage as well, Matty, and I can definitely see why you would go that direction as well. I mean, the pro wrestling world, there's a lot of carnies and there's a lot of, con men in it as well.
Yeah, bro.
And you know what I mean? Like, it honestly seems like you really researched it and made the smart decision for yourself in, going to the right place and being trained by the right people. You mentioned Madison Eagles, who is, an Australian wrestling legend and a women's wrestling legend as well worldwide. Like, she's up there with all the great female wrestlers in the world, like for the past 10, 20 years. And to train under her and to train under Robbie, how did you find going in there? Because PWA, it definitely seems like it's a very family orientated place. It's a very community driven, which is quite refreshing to see and hear about in the pro wrestling world. Were you expecting that going in?
I had no idea, just because I knew nothing of the Australian wrestling industry. I'd never been to a PWA show. I kind of knew a few other companies that I'd gone to here and there, and I wasn't necessarily impressed with kind of the stuff that they were putting forward. And I found other wrestling schools were just trying to get you coin. But when I walked in there, like, I'm a pretty athletic dude. You know, I did MMA for 6 years, and they said it was a tryout. Like, I trained my ass off for a month, and I was like, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. And I went to the tryout, and I kind of realized that it wasn't necessarily a test of your athletic ability. It was more a test of your heart. And I passed pretty easily, but the whole family orientated thing is something that comes with time. You know, it's like anywhere else. Wrestling sees a lot of turnover. Like, I've been at the school for over 5 years now, and you see so many people come and go, just because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. But, you know, once you show that you really want it and you're willing to put the time and the effort in, there's no better family. Like, they're so accepting. They do anything for anyone. And as much as it obviously is a business, that's the second part of it. The business is secondary to like the family and the friendships that you kind of develop. And like my life now, like every weekend I'm spending with people from PWA. I go to birthdays of people from PWA, and it's just like my whole social circle and my life kind of revolves around it now. And I'm very much enjoying it.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, it's the feeling that you get. And like I said, I've been to, you know, a couple of PWA shows now, and it's a welcoming, like going to a PWA show is a lot of fun. It's welcoming. Everyone's very, very cool. I've never been to a PWA show and just thought wow, that person's a dick, whether it be a fan or a performer or anyone else. Like, everyone's very chill, and it's a really enjoyable environment. And it, like I said, welcoming to everybody. It feels like when it's showtime. But, you know, as you mentioned, you know, pro wrestling has a very high turnover of people, and I think it's a lot of people. And I've mentioned this before. A lot of people, I think, look at pro wrestling and go, yeah, that's easy. I could go start training tomorrow, and, you know, in a week from now, I could probably get signed by WWE, and maybe a month later, I could face The Rock at WrestleMania. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of like disconnect from some people. I think once they start training and going through that and realize how hard it is and what it takes to actually be a high quality performer, that's where I think a lot of people maybe find it a lot different than what they thought.
Yeah, and I found now I'm also coaching at the PWA Academy, and I'm involved in the tryouts. And you see a lot of people who come in who haven't done anything physical before, and that's great. Like, their passion and their dream is to be a wrestler. Like, come and try and have a go. But you know, if I was 24, had never done sport in my life, I probably wouldn't go and try out for the local rugby league team. You know, because I would be like, no, I wouldn't do that. I'll get hurt. Like, I won't be able to do it. But for some reason, because of professional wrestling, people think they can just come in and it's easy and they'll be able to do it, and they find out very quickly that it's not easy. It's tough. It's taxing on your body. It's taxing on your mind, and you've really got to put the effort in. And there's some places you can go and you can just get put on shows after 3 weeks of training, and that's cool. Yeah. Like, I'm happy for people to go out and live their dreams and get on shows, but with our academy, we have a certain level of performer that we present to the audience. And to get that, you need to work your ass off for a long time. And I personally trained almost 2.5 years before I even made my debut on a show. And a lot of people have that similar type of time range. So if you're not willing to put in the effort, you're not going to get to the kind of levels that you want to get, is the polite way that I'll say that.
Mate, no, look, I 100% agree. And I think a lot of people, and, you know, and I've said this before as well, I think a lot of people, I think society in this day and age, people want things straight away. They don't want to work for it. They don't want to put in time for it. And it's like, you know, I think I don't know what it is, but it's like, I look at, you know, I'm 38 years of age. I look at people that are in their early 20s and sometimes and just like, why can't they have it now? Why can't they have it now? It's like, motherfucker, it takes time. Like, you know, shit's not easy. You know, if you put in the reps and you put in the time and you the consistency with it, you're going to achieve.
Exactly. And it's really cool being a coach now because I see it. So I'll see someone come in on day one who can't do a push-up, who can't do a roll and whatever it is. And then you see them rocking up 3-4 times a week, and they do that for months and months and months. And then all of a sudden they're really good. And I love seeing that. And there's, you know, certain guys and girls who come to that school who I invest my time in, because if you show me you care and you show me you really want to get better, then I want to invest my time in you and help you. And I'll do anything I can to get you to be better. And that's the same with a lot of the PWA people. Once you show that you want it and you're willing to work hard, we will do anything for you to achieve that dream that you do have.
Yeah, absolutely. And, being a coach and being able to see people develop like that, that must be a very rewarding thing, especially when you see people that have that commitment, that desire to, get to that level.
Yeah. Honestly, like, the coaching is my new favorite thing. Like, I've been doing it for a little bit on and off, but this year, with Robbie being overseas and certain other things coming up, I've been able to coach a lot more, and I genuinely love it because it's kind of like the history. Like, wrestling is a passion of mine. I love it, and I love, being able to share that passion with other like-minded people, and that's what the Gen Now stuff is all about. I've been training with these guys and girls for years, and I see them at training 4 or 5 times a week. I see how hard they work, and I just want the best for them. And I guess the teaching side of me kind of comes out as a coach at PWA.
Yeah. And, you mentioned Gen Now, and it's not as, like I said, Gen Now, I love the concept of it. I think it's absolutely amazing. And, because it's not as stable, it's not like a group or a faction. As you said before, it's a movement. And, you have a collection of Australia's top wrestlers in this faction that are saying, hey, it is my fucking time now to take, you people will take fucking notice. Am I right in saying that?
100%. We kind of, for a long time, in PWA, there's some incredible guys, Robbie Eagles, Jack Bonza, Mick Moretti. They're the best of the best. And it's very difficult to get your own shine when the guys at the top of the company are as good as they are. And, for a long time, people were polite and lovely and so nice. And that doesn't get you anywhere sometimes. And I saw guys like the Velocities, and I saw a kid like Jimmy Townsend who was so polite and nice, but they weren't getting what they deserved. And so I kind of said to them, like, if you want this, you got to fight for it. And in professional wrestling, fighting for it means, sometimes going out and taking. And that's kind of what we're doing at the moment. We're going out and we're taking these opportunities. And it's not that we hate the old guard, as they like to call themselves, or we disrespect them. We're just fighting for what we think we deserve. And it's something that we're all super passionate about. We train together constantly. We're training together, as I said, 3-4 times a week. We're together all the time. We're pushing each other to be the best. And that's why I think our roster is the best in the country, because we push each other. You have a group of like 10 guys and girls who are just want to be the best. And that brings the best out of each other. Like me and Sam Osborne personally, sometimes we don't necessarily get along, but we have to put that to the side, because I know if I train with Sam Osborne, I'm a better performer and he's a better performer. So we've got to leave all that personal stuff to the side, stop stressing about, do I like you or do I not like you, and start thinking about what we need to do to show the world how good we are.
And I think you're definitely doing that. And, the part that I really enjoy about it is it's a mixture of like heels and baby faces, and you guys are having matches against each other and stuff like that. Because as I said before, it's not as stable. And it's like when you see you guys out there cutting promos and you're out as a unit, it's like, it's a great thing to see, man. It's like a thing of unity. And, Australian wrestling is definitely healthy. It's definitely healthy, especially with a group like you guys that are just sort of taking it to that next level.
Yeah, the Australian scene's incredible right now. And, there's EPW in Perth, Riot City and Wrestle Rampage in Adelaide, MCW in Melbourne. And I know guys and girls there who are extremely talented, and they're all fighting for opportunities too. And when it comes to the faction stuff, like, I'm not asking Jude and Paris not to be friends with Matt Rogers and Matt Diamond. Like, they're close mates. That's a personal relationship they have. Who am I to tell them not to do that? Who am I to tell Kingsley, don't be friends with Uncle Jack? Like, that's not my role. My role is to make them as best performers as they can. So they're free to do whatever they want. This Gen Now thing, this is just something that, when you need it, I have your back no matter what. You ring me, you call me, you tell me where to be and what you need, and I'll make it happen.
That's awesome, man. But, I wanted to ask you as well, because to take a bit of a break off the wrestling talk for just a moment. Last year you got a chance to be on Survivor, and you were loved, you were hated, you were everything in between. How did you find that and going out on a reality TV show, man? Was it like nerve-wracking? Did you feel comfortable in that environment?
You know, I'm not as dumb as I look, and I knew that going on a reality show would be huge for, you know, not just my wrestling career, but PWA as well. Mix that with the fact that I'm a huge reality fan. Like, I've been watching Survivor almost my whole life since it kind of started, and I've always wanted to do it. And as I said, I'm getting to this stage in my life where it's like, if I don't do it now, I may never do it. So I was like, I really want to try this. And I think with the wrestling, it helped so much with me being on the show, because it's just like, I'm used to being filmed. I'm used to being physical. Everything that the show kind of presented me with, I was ready for. And even like the casting process as well. You have so many people who want to go on this show who are just like, oh, I just love Survivor. I love the opportunity, just like boring stuff. And you have producers who want good television, and I come out and I start cutting a promo about, you know, who's this guy over here? You've never been to a gym in your life. You think you're going to beat me in what? And that kind of gear really helped, and that was something I think they were really interested in, and led to me getting on the show. And, you know, next time I might choose a show that gives you food and you sleep, you know, under a roof and it's not cold and wet all the time. But it was probably the best experience of my life, and something that I'll remember forever.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, if you say mentioning another reality TV show, I think Married at First Sight are looking for people, dude, you know.
Right, I don't need a reality show to get a girl. Trust me. The only show I would ever go on, reality-wise, is there's a show called The Challenge in the US, and I put it over all the time. It's basically Survivor mixed with like the real world. Everyone drinks and things like that. And it's just like a really physically competitive kind of show. The new season has Leo Rush. He's actually competing on it this year. CM Punk has done it briefly in the past. So it's got some wrestling ties to it. So I always make sure I promote that, because that's the next goal, is I'm going to get on The Challenge in the US.
Dude, you should check out. Have you seen SAS, the Australian show?
I've heard things. I saw the Honey Badger beat up that girl, but I have heard things about SAS and something I'd definitely be interested in.
Dude, they like mentally fuck you. Like, it's dude, they had like people like with hoods over their faces. They had like headphones like this on, and they're playing like screeching baby noises, like crying, like, and for hours, had them stand there in the freezing cold for hours, and then brought them in and interrogated the fuck out of them with some big motherfucker just going, answer the fucking question. And I'm just like, and I'm looking at it, and you just see people going, and like me and my wife watching, I'm like, these motherfuckers are gonna snap. They're gonna break it. Like, dude, it's like Survivor on steroids, bro. Like,
yeah, that sounds pretty full on. I just thought it was like, you know, a little bit of boxing, maybe a wrestle. I didn't know it was so intense.
Yeah, no, dude, it's crazy, man. But, you know, overall, in all, you know, getting back to you on Survivor, how did you find, you know, actually being on the show and doing the tasks? Were they, you know, did you find them, you know, relatively easy? Was there stuff that was really challenging for you?
One thing I always tell people is that, you know, they always ask, oh, when did you stay in the hotel? And they always think it's fake, but Survivor was completely real. We legitimately slept under, you know, bamboo logs in the middle of nowhere with no food. It was cold. It was raining. Like, it was horrible at times. Like, there were moments where I just wanted to go home. It nearly broke me a few times, but I kind of pushed through. The challenges were what I really thrived in, because I love being competitive. I love being physical and trying things. So whenever the challenges were up, that was kind of where I excelled. I really loved that aspect of the show. And then the Survivor stuff where you're voting people out, that was fun too. Unfortunately, just due to the numbers on the tribe and things like that, I didn't get to do as much as I kind of probably wanted to. But overall, it was shit. But because of that, it was a positive experience, because I actually had to go through something that most people would never do in their lives.
Yeah. And as you said before, it's something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And, you know, I think going through stuff like that and doing tasks like that and going through an experience like that would build so much more of your character as well. Like, it'd give you, I think, more of a worldly view on things and appreciation of things that most people just take for granted.
Yeah, very much so. And being a teacher, you know, I see kids these days. I see how easy they have it in some ways, and how a lot of them when faced with challenges, completely break down. They don't know what to do. The kids have so much anxiety and serious issues with depression because they don't face actual challenges during their life. So when it does happen, they don't know how to respond. So being able to go out there and actually face some pretty full-on challenges myself, I feel it can really help me in my life pass that on to other people about how to deal with those kind of things.
Oh, 100%. And being a teacher and also a coach as well, by being able to sort of help people through that and sort of saying, hey, if I'm able to achieve this, I'm able to accomplish this, you can get through this. Now, come on.
You can do one more push-up. I slept outside for over a month. You can do one more push-up. Don't give me that bullshit.
Well, dude, you know what? I wouldn't even go like camping, man. And I just feel like less manly talking to you now, seriously. But, like getting back into, the pro wrestling side of things, who were some of the guys that you really looked up to in the early days when you started training? Were you watching a lot of, professional wrestling? You mentioned the indies. What were some of your favorite promotions and who were some of the people that really inspired you?
So I grew up watching, WCW. It was kind of all I had. So that was kind of my introduction. But then as I got older, I really got into US indies. So I started with TNA. TNA was like back in like 04 to probably 08 kind of timeline. That was the shit. Like if you watch Impact now, it's not the same. Back then, it was incredible. And from that led me to Ring of Honor, which led me to Shikara and PWG. And they were probably the main promotions I watched a lot of. And I really just loved that independent style because it was so different to what I was seeing, from the WWE and other bigger promotions. There was lots of guys that I was super into. I think the one that's had the biggest influence on probably my career is Chris Hero. I've always been a huge Chris Hero guy, and I really wish, things had gone a lot better for him in certain places. But I remember when he came into Ring of Honor, he just blew my mind. And especially he didn't even wrestle when I first started watching him. He was just doing tricks. He had this gimmick at the time where he would just do like handstands and things like that. And I thought it was hilarious. And he's one guy that I've been following and watching his progression and then tagging with like Claudio Castagnoli and all that type of stuff. Like they were probably, man, yeah, they were the two guys that I really watched. And that's the stuff I still watch. Like I'll go back and I'm at the moment, we actually do a thing at PWA on Fridays that I lead called TNA Fridays. Where I put on an old TNA pay-per-view and people will come before training like 2 or 3 hours and we'll just sit and watch like Lockdown 2006 or something like that, just because that's the type of wrestling I love to watch. And now when I watch wrestling, especially current stuff, I'm watching it, studying it, that type of thing. But then when I watch old stuff, it's like I can be a fan again, which if you're not a wrestler, it's hard to understand. But once you get in the business, it's hard to be a fan. Because now you're watching timing, you're watching footwork. How did he do this? What happened here? And all that type of stuff. So old TNA and old Ring of Honor is where I can be a fan again and just actually enjoy wrestling.
Dude, I'm the same, man. I'm a huge indie mark, dude. I've got a CZW belt just over here.
So I was big on CZW too. Not the deathmatch stuff, but when they used to have like Sonjay Dutt, the Ring of Honor guys would come in too. Like they had some amazing stuff.
Dude, did you ever check out Trent Acid and the Backseat Boys?
The Backseat Boys. I used to love Trent Acid, man. That's RIP. Like that's a guy who could have gone so far too.
Dude, he was just a guy that had so many struggles, man. Like he just, you know what I mean? Like just struggled with addiction, struggled with, demons and stuff like that. And he had he could have gone on to WWE and some major things, dude, like without a doubt. Like, but look, CZW was definitely a thing I was into. I started seeing in the magazines and I started calling up CZW and XPW and buying tapes when I was 17 and shit. My parents are getting the phone bill going, who the fuck are we calling Sword, New Jersey, you little fuck? But yeah, I think indie wrestling appeals to so many more people because of the WWE shows. I think they're so big. When you hear chants and stuff, it's not, unless everyone is in unison, it doesn't really resonate onto the screen. Whereas I think on the smaller indie shows where everyone's chanting whether it be too sweet, woo, woo, the whole crowd is going at that one time. It gets more, I think it's more of an adrenaline thing as well. It looks like it's adds to the excitement of the show. As a fan watching it, you're like, fuck yeah, I want to go there. I want to chant that shit.
Yeah, and like I've been to a lot of I've done Bowler, I've done King of Trios, I've been at SummerSlam, and like SummerSlam was really cool to be at, but there's something missing, and I think it's just that having that really small, intimate kind of vibe for a big show, just you feel like you're more part of it rather than when you're sitting with 35,000 other people. When I went to Bowler, you're trapped in this little auditorium with 600 people, and it's more of an experience, and especially if you're a passionate wrestling fan, I think it means a lot more because you feel like you're actually part of it rather than you're just at the back watching it.
Yeah, man, and that's why I love PWG, because PWG is like so fucking underground. It's like they turn around and just could go into bigger buildings and shit, and they're like, no, we're happy with 1,000 people. That's fine. Like, fuck off. We're gonna stay here, and like they have been consistent throughout their whole entirety of it, and you see the diehard fans that they have from it.
Yeah, and that Bowler show was just like the best thing that I ever did. Like I remember the first match was Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. And Candice LeRae, like besides Chris Hero, she's probably my second favorite wrestler of all time. Like I'm a huge Candice LeRae fan. And seeing those two in person, I was like, I had to stand up for 4 hours. I think probably longer, 4 or 5 hours. And it was the best. And I was just like, wow, this is such, because I've seen so many, like you see like the trailers for PWG shows. That was how I started. You watch the YouTube trailers. Then I watched the show and I was like, nah, now I'm here. Like I'm here. I actually get to be part of this. And that was really cool.
Is that like a moment where you really sort of step back and go like, holy fuck, like this is where I've like watched as a fan and be like, I want to fucking be here, and now I'm here?
Yeah, that was the big one. And the funny thing is, myself and Robbie Eagles we didn't meet till 2015 when I started training, but we have 5 or 6 like events that we both went to that we just missed each other. So he was actually at that Bowler as well, and we didn't know each other. We never saw each other, but we were both at the same show, both experiencing it as a fan. And then seeing him go on and do PWG, that was just like such a cool thing. And having Paris and Jude hopefully soon too doing PWG, it's just like it blows my mind, because I was like, I was there. It makes it more real.
Oh man, 100%. We do have a question from Kyle Eade, and we are sort of on international wrestling, so I thought I'd throw it out there. He says, what international wrestler would you like to face and why? I reckon that's probably going to be a hard question to answer. So I'm going to say, who are your top 5 that you would like to wrestle?
I should have wrote this down. Chris Hero is obviously number 1. He'll always be number 1, especially, kind of with his style. I think it would fit very well. Gargano is another one who I was a fan for a long time, and I'll throw Candice in there too. I'd love to wrestle either of them. They're such incredible athletes. I think that would be a kind of a dream for me. 4 and 5. There's just so many. I think Cesaro is a massive one too. That dude is insane. He probably European uppercut my head off, but what can you do? That's part of the fun of getting involved. Who's someone else I can throw? Oh, Eddie Kingston, number 5. I've always been a massive Eddie guy ever since he was in Shikara. He would just like back fist all the rookies. I was like, that dude's a bad man. And I'm really happy he's getting, so much good stuff happening for him now. So I'll throw Eddie Kingston in there as well.
Dude, Eddie Kingston to me is like one of the most underrated promo artists and performers of like, dude, he's unreal. He's the fucking man.
I remember he got into Ring of Honor because him and Hero had that huge feud. And I remember he came to Ring of Honor and I was buzzing. I was like, this is it. He's going to be huge. And then it kind of just like fizzled out. And I was like, oh man, this kind of sucks. So I'm really happy that now he's kind of getting all the due that he deserves, because he's been good for so long.
Oh man, absolutely. Like I was actually had Big Fudge on the other day, and I was telling him he needed to like, we were talking about Eddie Kingston, how awesome he is. I told him, I was like, dude, you got to go check out some of his promos and stuff that he did with CZW. Like they were like, yeah, but the Tournament of Death 4 promo he did before he went out and had this massive fucking blow off match, and it was like the most realest fucking promo I'd ever seen at that time. I was just like, remember watching it. And even now, like I will still watch it. I'll go back and watch it and be like, that shit still fucking holds up.
Yeah, and that's the thing with him is I think the reason people enjoy him so much is because it's real. Like people say, oh, everything he does sounds real. It's because it is real. He genuinely believes whatever he's saying. He doesn't bullshit the fans. He doesn't try and make up something fancy. He just tells you how he feels. And that's something that I resonate with because I like doing the same thing. He just says what he's thinking, and he's so passionate about it that it comes through the screen and draws you in. So, and especially like he did all that stuff with Hero too. They really hated each other. So I'm big Eddie Kingston, early Eddie Kingston. When was that? That would have been like 05, 06 kind of area.
Yeah. And that's the promo. Sean's just letting us know. Respect me, John Zandig. That was fucking dope. That was fucking dope. But you mentioned your character of being someone who was like that take no shit. I'm here, motherfuckers. That very confident, borderline cocky performer. How did was the 21st century success story, Matty Wahlberg? Was that your ideal character that you had when you started out, or has it been a long road for you to get to where that you are now?
The thing is, like, this isn't a character, and you can ask any of like my friends, anyone that I train with, like, this is me. There is no real difference between Matty Wahlberg and who I am in my real life. Like, they're very similar guys. Early on, like, character-wise, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I had a few ideas. I wanted to do a mask character. I wanted this. I wanted to do this, and then eventually, I kind of wanted to do like a reality guy, like a Geordie Shore kind of character. That was my initial idea, and like I used to hand out business cards with my number on it and stuff like that. And it just kind of over time progressed, where it's like once you're in the ring, it's very difficult to hide who you truly are, unless you're an incredibly good actor. A lot of times, the real you will shine through. And over time, I just started being myself. I wear jerseys all the time. That's what I do. I like rap music. I like talking shit. I like fighting. I like MMA. Like, these are all aspects of my real personality, and I've just adapted them to use them with professional wrestling.
And I think that's the thing, and a lot of great professional wrestlers have said, the very best characters in professional wrestling are the real person with the volume turned up all the way to 1,000 or 11 or whatever sort of way you want to label it. And, to say that's exactly who you are. I think that, when I saw the first time I went to a PWA show recently, seeing you come out, it was very much like you grabbed the attention of the audience. Like, I was like, it made you stop and go, wow, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? Like, you had that sort of charisma about you, and that confidence that you had going, like, when you go out today and in this current stage. Has it always been like that for you? Like, have you always been that confident in your ability, that confident in how you're going to perform when you go out there? Or is that something that for you had taken time to build that confidence up?
Nah, like, I'd be lying if I didn't say that, early on, it was like not debilitating, but like the nerves are, especially your first match, they're tough. And the hardest part isn't like being in the ring and being out. That's the easy part. The hardest part is like the 5-10 minutes before your match or before whatever you're doing, where you're backstage and you're just stressing and you're like, what's going to happen? I hope everything goes well. I hope the crowd cares about me. I hope I don't do any dumb shit that, ends up on Botchamania. Like, you stress about that stuff. And early on, I did. And it just takes reps. It's like anything else, you keep repping, you keep working hard, and eventually, like, it just becomes like second nature and you don't even notice. And that's kind of how I feel now. The going out, the performing, the entrance, that's the fun stuff. That's why I work so hard. I work so hard for that. So I just like to enjoy it and make the most of it. And the nerves and the stress are less than they were, but they're always there. And I think it's kind of a situation where if they're not there, then you're done. You've given up. Because no one is perfect. You don't care. If you don't have the nerves and you can sit backstage and then just walk out, you don't give a shit. You don't really care about your performance. You're just kind of going through the motions, and that's not the kind of performer I want to be.
And that can be scary as well, because if you go and you're feeling like that, then there's a good chance you go out there and be reckless and hurt someone as well.
Exactly, and like I've been watching old WCW recently, and you see it with some of the big guys. Like, there'll be like a Hogan match, and you see they go out there and they just do whatever, and nothing really matters to them in that stage. And I can understand these guys are multi-million-dollar performers. They've earned that right. But that's not me. I don't want to just go out there and give a minimum performance. I want to go out there and give everything I have every time.
100%. And your character really feels like the sort of character that really feeds off that live crowd, that live audience. How have you found, doing the PWA Premiership and doing the empty arena shows, no fans? Has that been something that you found challenging at all, or is that something that you just feel like it's more training than actually going out there and performing?
The first few times were really weird. It's like really strange to be wrestling in front of no one or be wrestling in front of like 3 wrestlers. Like, it does feel like training, and it's hard to get yourself in that same mindset where you're willing to risk your body and everything to win a match. Like, it's very hard. You don't get the same adrenaline. It was a very different experience, but it really also feels a lot more like a fight. When I'm in there with Matt Rogers and I came out for that match and there was no one in the crowd, there was no one sitting down, and I look across and there's this big dude with tattoos who wants to fuck me up. It felt real. It felt like, dude, I have to fight. And that's kind of the match that we had, is I had to fight him, because this was like, it was taking, it was like we were fighting at 5 a.m. outside a pub, in the alleyway. There's no one else around and we're just throwing down. So the vibe is incredibly different. And at first I was very uncomfortable with it, but then, like anything else, you got to find a way to get used to it. And as Conor McGregor always says, it's my favorite quote, you got to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that's the only way you can grow. And so I'm glad fans are back. It is much more fun, having an audience there and having people respond to what you're doing.
Oh, 100%. And, seeing some of the last 2 shows that you guys have had, man, there's definitely, I'm looking forward to this upcoming show on next Saturday, man. I'm hoping to be sitting front row and center for it, man. So who have you got on the card, man? Who are you facing?
So I got announced today that it's actually going to be a 14-person tag match. It's going to be the people from Block A in the Premiership against the people from Block B in the Premiership. So I have no idea what's going to happen, because it's a weird situation where I'm tagging with Bonza. Like, I don't want to tag with Bonza. That dude's a dick. Like, I don't know how that's going to happen. And then I'm also fighting. Like, I'm fighting Kingsley. I'm fighting Osborne. I'm fighting Paris. Like, I really have zero idea what's going to go down in this match. But the big positive is that Mick Moretti is on the other team. So if all else fails, I'm just going to kick that dude in the face and enjoy myself.
I love the shirt that you had on wrist locks and pile drivers when you took the sort of thing off. I was like, Moretti's my bitch.
Yeah, that dude, the thing is, I don't know if you know too much about Mick Moretti, but he thinks he's like the king of the mind games, because he wears face paint and he does funny like stuff because he watched The Dark Knight a few times. But I can do mind games too, bros. And as you've seen with the Premiership, I think I'm in Moretti's head, and I'm much better at that game than he is. And I think that's what's frustrating him, is that I'm better at mind games than he is, and that's usually his go-to.
I think that there's definitely got to lead to a big blow-off match between the two of you guys. And to be honest,
what I want.
Yeah.
I've been asking for a year. This dude's a straight-up pussy. Like, he is. He acts all tough, like, oh, Wahlberg's got to earn his chance, but that dude doesn't want to come near me, because he's seen me. He was my coach. He knows what I can do. He doesn't want to bar me.
So have you guys never wrestled each other at all?
In January, we had a tag where it was the Babes against the Nations, Bonza and Moretti. And we got to throw down a little bit. And then we had the 6-man earlier in the year.
One-on-one, I mean, sorry.
One-on-one, never one-on-one. Never one-on-one. That dude doesn't want me one-on-one.
Wow. I think we maybe need to get Mick Moretti back on the show, and these two can have a discussion live on shooting the shit. Get it down. See,
he would put out. He would never do that. He doesn't want me face to face.
Well, there you go, guys. Like, I think it's definitely going to be an interesting time on Saturday night, man. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. But what can us fans expect from the show next Saturday?
Well, I think the thing I'm excited for with the show is that because 14 of the top guys and girls are in the main event, that means the rest of the card opens up. And there's a lot of guys and girls who are waiting for that opportunity to show people what they can do, and I'm excited for that. Back Pain is a big tag team that I'm a huge fan of. Backman and Jack Payne, they were in the pre-show of the last PWA show, so OVO people didn't see it. But these dudes are big and scary, and I'm excited for them to do something. We've also got Cherry Stevens of the Prefects. She's an incredible talent who just keeps getting better, which kind of scares me a little bit. And then there's guys like Jace. Yeah, she's like, mate, incredible. I'm
a huge mark for her, man. I saw her wrestle Charlie Evans at the IWA show. I saw her wrestle Charlie Evans at the IWA show, and I thought, wow, I wonder how this is going to be match-wise, style-wise. And, man, it one of the best matches on the card, man. It was like two badass females going at it, man.
She's the type of girl that will come up to me at training and go, hey, I saw this move the other day. Do you think you can teach me it? Every time. She always has stuff. She's like, can you teach me this? What else do you know? She just wants to know more and more, and her knowledge is like insane. And if I was going to say female stuff, that if I was a professional wrestler in this country, I would be very worried about Cherry Stevens, because she's coming for your spot, and most likely she's going to take it too.
Oh, 100%. You definitely see that dedication, and even the character adding her into the prefix, it just suits so well. Like it really does, and it's so entertaining.
It is, especially like, I don't know if you guys know Jimmy Townsend personally, but that dude is scared of girls. Like, he is so funny watching him try and like speak to girls. Like, I think it was the last show where Kingsley came upstairs or something, and she said something to him, like made a joke, and he can't even speak. He gets so nervous around women, and I just thoroughly enjoy it. And seeing him, having her as a teammate, and he definitely has a crush on her. Like, people reckon he doesn't, but he definitely does. So I'm very much enjoying what's happening with the Prefects at the moment.
Jeez, Wahlberg's here shooting here.
Jimmy Townsend watching. Oh, watch this. Jimmy Townsend will message me. He's already messaged me before because I said something mean about him. He's watching the show. Hey, Jimmy, I'm just being honest. This is shooting the shit uncensored. I had to shoot the shit uncensored. Like, don't be grumpy at me.
Oh, Jimmy, please forgive us, buddy. But talking about some of the up and coming talent in PWA, who are a couple of names that you think that we should be keeping our eye out for in the future? You mentioned Back Pain. Who are some of the other names that you think are going to be making an impact soon?
There's so many. I think Reese Angel's one who has already done stuff on PWA cards, but I think can do so much more. He is a very talented guy who works really hard, and that's why I wanted him in Gen Now, because I see a lot in him, and I'm excited to see kind of where he goes. They've also got Ben Braxton, who's from Newcastle Pro. He trains up at NEWY. But that dude is like, they call him superstar for a reason. He can do anything. He is incredibly athletic, and if anyone saw him at his last PWA show, he's an incredible talent. So Ben Braxton's another guy that I would be paying very close attention to. And if you can get your hands on any of his matches, like, pay attention. But then there's also guys like two guys, Jay Sorbet and Donnie Mako. These are two guys who've been around the Australian wrestling scene for a few years. If you've been to any independent show in Australia, you've seen them wrestle at some stage. And I think those two guys are very, very talented, and I think they're both waiting for just something to happen. Something's going to happen. I don't know what it is, but they're going to get a chance, and they're really going to show what they're made of.
Oh, 100%. And, we are getting close to that 1 hour mark, and there are a couple more questions I want to ask you, Matty. And, what do you think is going to be 2021 like for Gen Now? How do you think that's going to be playing out for Gen Now?
Well, I'm hoping, borders and everything kind of opens up, because you look at some of the guys and girls in this group, and if I was like, I look at this, like AEW Dark, I watch that every week, yeah? There's a lot of guys and girls in that who get opportunities who aren't in the same league as Sam Osborne, who aren't in the same league as the Velocities. If they got the same opportunities that people in AEW Dark got, they would take over. The Velocities were supposed to be in PWG this year, and if they had had that opportunity, they would have been back every single show. That's how good they are. Sam Osborne, once someone overseas gives him an opportunity, he is going to take everything. Same as Kingsley. Kingsley is so talented as a wrestler, but also as a performer, that if she gets one opportunity, one chance, she's taking everyone's spots. So I'm hoping in 2021, everything opens and these guys and girls get those chances. Even Jimmy, since I said mean things, I'll say something nice. Hopefully he stopped watching though. You know, he's done so much stuff with the prefects and like he has the schoolboy and all that kind of stuff. But I always tell him, like, once you get rid of the games, once you get rid of the bullshit and you actually start wrestling like I see you wrestle at training, you are legitimately one of the best guys in this country. But no one's seen it yet. But they will. So I think 2021 is going to be a huge year for all these guys and girls in Gen Now. And if places give them an opportunity, I would enjoy seeing them now in Australia because you might not see them there again.
Oh, 100%. And, 2021, what's it look like for the 21st century success story?
Yeah, I don't know. I've got some big things happening. That I can't reveal at the moment. So when that all comes out, that'll be pretty exciting. But the main thing I want to do is obviously I want to fight Mick Moretti. That is what I'm fighting for. And, I think this tournament, looking at the dates of the matches that I have, it finishes up most likely next year. And ideally that means I win bracket B and Mick Moretti wins bracket A and I finally get my match. Other than that, I'm not looking too far forward. I don't like to plan when you can't really plan. Unfortunately, with everything going on in the world, I can't plan too far ahead. I'd love to go overseas and start showing the world what I can do, but it might not be my year. And if it's not next year, then that means I'm taking over this country again. I've wrestled pretty much every state, but I'm ready to go back and show them how much I've improved, in the last 9 months of quarantine.
100%, man. And, it's definitely, I think everything is starting to open up back now. And I think if international borders start opening up, it'd be great to see some of these, you mentioned Sam Osborne, who was one of the very best in Australian wrestling today, right next to yourself and a few others as well. There's definitely a lot of talent in Australia, and you've actually seen Australian talent being taken notice, the last few years with Australian names being promoted on WWE and other major promotions. Pardon me. But Matty, look, I do want to be conscious of your time. You are a busy man. We do just want to start wrapping it up, Matty. Where can everyone find you? Where can they support you? Where can they get some merch?
So I'm Matty Wahlberg 21 on pretty much all social media. What I'll say, though, if you want merch, don't worry about my merch. We're still doing PWA in November. We're almost up to $5,000, which is insane because our original goal was $1,000. So if you can find on the PWA Instagram or my Instagram, all the links are in the bios. Buy this shirt. There's another sick shirt that came out with all the PWA wrestlers with facial hair on there. Buy that. All the proceeds are going towards November, helping, with like testicular cancer, helping with colon cancer, helping with, suicide and depression in males. And it's a cause I'm really passionate about. So don't throw your money to me, throw your money to them.
Man, thank you very much. What a very noble offer. I definitely got to get me one of those shirts. Maybe I'll pick one up at the show on next Saturday. But I just want to take a second to say thank you so much to Matty Wahlberg for giving his time for this evening, for everyone to come and watch, hearing about his story, hearing about his views on pro wrestling, his life, what brought him to the dance, and what's going to take him further. And, his name go down in history as one of the greatest in Australian wrestling. I'd also just like to thank everyone for tuning in and watching Shooting the Shit Uncensored. It's always a pleasure to see everyone here tuning in every single week, supporting us, guys. And again, I just want to say a quick thanks to our sponsors, A-Rock Designs, Signal Studios. Make sure you go and check those guys out. But guys, without further ado, we're going to bid you farewell. Matty, thank you again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Anytime. Thanks, brother. That was a pleasure, Piers.
Absolutely, man. We'll get you back on for part 2, man.
Let's do it.